Incremental attribution, it's the talk of the town, one of Meta's latest releases. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what it is and what it means for your advertising campaigns. All right, so Meta so far this summer has been releasing a lot of new stuff, which is exciting. Some of it has been very good. I've covered some of those items in my previous videos, so definitely go and check them out. Some of them are going to be a little bit more wait and see, and that's my personal take on this. There's a lot of content out there on this update of incremental attribution. They're all like, oh, this is the biggest game changer of all time. It's going to completely transform the way you optimize campaigns, this, that, and the other. And that is possible. I'm certainly not negating that possibility, but I'm not going to come in here and say this is an amazing update and it's going to improve everyone's campaigns. It might not. So let's go ahead and dive right in, talk about what this is and what my personal take is on it. All right, so the attribution setting, it's at the ad set level. It actually always has been at the ad set level, so that isn't anything unique. But since the dawn of meta ads, the attribution setting has always been standard, right? So optimize delivery for a selected time window and interaction type. You can use the default and edit this below. So that's the standard attribution window, and it has always, maybe not always, but for at least 10 years, it has defaulted to the 7-day click, 1-day engaged view, and 1-day view attribution window. And then you can come here and you can modify this, right? You can get rid of the view through attribution window, you can get rid of the engage view attribution window, and then you can change this to 1-day or 7-day. Now, I have made a video on what all of these things mean, so I won't do a deep dive into what the 7-day is versus a 1-day, but I have a separate video, so you can go ahead and check that out in the corner right now. But now they have released the option to change the attribution setting, and instead of using the standard attribution window, you can now use what they're calling the incremental attribution window. So let's see what this says. It says optimize delivery for incremental conversions using sophisticated models that predict whether a conversion is caused by an ad. All right, so what the heck are they talking about right here? That's very technical marketing speak right there. But basically, here what they're trying to do is trying to solve the age-old dilemma of attribution. And if you're not familiar with attribution, just really quick, it's the whole concept of attributing a sale to a specific ad. Now, we know that there are some people that they'll see an ad, they'll click on it, and they'll make a purchase, and that's very simple attribution. You can definitely say the ad is the one that created that purchase right there, but that's only a small percentage of actual sales. The vast majority of sales are going to be a lot more complex than that. It can be something to the effect of they look for you on Google and they click on your Google link. They go to your website and they subscribe to your weekly newsletter. And then a couple of days later, they get hit with a retargeting ad. They see the retargeting ad, but they don't click on it. Instead, they go back to their email on one of your weekly email promos. They click on that and they purchase from that, right? So that's a very zigzag kind of attribution. And so when you look at that and you say, in this example, the retargeting ad that they did see but they didn't click on, what kind of attribution can you give that? How much credit can you give that retargeting ad? Can you definitively say that were it not for that retargeting ad, they wouldn't have purchased? It's difficult to say. I mean, probably they still would have purchased, but at the end of the day, you never know. So what this is attempting to solve for is to bring that whole picture, is that you're now going to be able to see the direct purchases and also the incremental purchases that wouldn't have happened without the assistance of ads. So on the surface, that is very exciting, right? Because now we get greater visibility to our ads. We know for a fact that not all the ads that would have happened are appearing inside of Meta, right? Because there is the fact that some people, they're not going to click on the ad. They may see your ad 10 times and then finally they just do a random Google search for you and then buy it directly from your website. But we have never been able to attribute those types of purchases. So it is a good thing that there is greater visibility in terms of the full impact of that. However, my hesitation is that, and this is where my take is different from a lot of people out there that are just super gung-ho on this, and my hesitation is that Meta has the incentive to always make their platform look better, because the better their platform looks, the more money you're going to spend and the more money ends up in their bank account. That's their ultimate incentive, right? So they are incentivized to show more purchases than probably actually took place from your ad campaigns. Now, they also do have an incentive to be at least somewhat truthful to their advertisers. They can't just give their advertisers 100% fake data and hope that they buy into it. So they're always kind of balancing this line between we want more money from people who are advertising on our platform, but at the same time, we do have to give them at least somewhat good quality data in order to be able to continue being profitable with their ad campaign. So this is where we need to be a little bit careful. When we start using this, and I haven't run any tests with it yet. When I do, I'll certainly report back on that. I'm going to be very hesitant in the results. I'm not going to just believe it at face value and be like, oh my goodness, we're getting 1,000 purchases. Otherwise I'd only be seeing 500, and this is amazing, right? That may not necessarily be the case. When you do launch this, I do think it's highly, highly, highly advisable, and this is what I'm going to do, is to use a third-party tracking platform such as Commonly to be able to verify a lot of this data. Now, I've done a full breakdown on Commonly. You can go ahead and check it out right here. But in a quick nutshell, it's a highly, highly accurate tool. I would say 99% accurate. It gives you the clearest data out there in terms of you spent this amount of dollars and you got this amount back, therefore here's your return. It makes those kinds of analyses very simple, and it makes it very clear when you are making a profit on your ad campaign. So first and foremost, I would do that. I have a link for that below. It is an affiliate link. It does not change the price for you at all. All it does is that they give me a little bit of kickback to sending a new customer their way. So any support from you is greatly appreciated. But basically, the reason I would want to do that test with Commonly specifically is because Commonly only tracks click attribution, and they're not going to track view attribution or anything like that, right? So someone had to directly click on your ad, because that's really the only way to know 100% for sure this ad contributed to that purchase. And you can switch on there between first click attribution, last click attribution, all this kind of good stuff. And so you can really mold the data and see like what truly is going on. And they provide organic data as well, right? Google searches, finding you on social media and making purchases that way. So it gives you a really accurate and complete picture. What you see inside of Meta is not the truth. It's maybe like 70% of the truth. So first and foremost, you launch it with that. But secondly, when you launch something with the incremental attribution, when you are testing this, I definitely recommend not making any other changes anywhere in your business, right? Because if you launch incremental attribution and you're also launching new ad copy and a new email campaign, and you make an update on your website, and you start seeing some results come in, whether they're positive or negative, you're not going to really know, okay, what is causing this? Am I actually getting good results from the incremental attribution, or is it some other change that I made in my business? So make sure you set a very firm date of when you're going to test this in your business, and then make sure you give it some time. I would say a minimum for this type of test, I would give it a minimum of 14 days, simply because I don't think you're going to be able to figure this out in 3 days' time, whether or not there is more incremental purchases coming in. So give it a minimum of 14 days, and don't make any other changes in your business during that time period. If you see a positive increase in your sales in that 14-day time period, then I would feel safe that this attribution setting is actually going to benefit your business, because it does change the way that the algorithm optimizes your campaigns. It's going to optimize completely differently. It's going to try to get you more of those incremental purchases as opposed to those direct purchases. So if you launch this and you normally get 100 sales per week overall, it doesn't matter from all your sources, organic, paid ads and stuff like that, and then you launch incremental attribution in over 14-day period, you get 150 purchases, you made 0 changes everywhere else, right? Like you got to keep everything consistent. Then be like, okay, cool. Like there's some evidence here that optimizing for these incremental attributions or incremental purchases is going to increase your overall sales. If, however, you launch this and you're still at that level of 100, but inside of Ads Manager it's showing you that you have way more purchases, but then you check your backend data and it's actually exactly the same, that would be an indication to me that they are over-crediting what the Facebook ad campaign is doing for you. Hey, and really quick, before I go any further, I did want to let you know that if you are looking for your ads to be professionally managed, well, you are in luck. Me and my team, we are currently accepting brand new clients, and we have a package for everybody. Whether you're a small business just getting started with ads, or you're a large business spending tens of thousands of dollars per day, we have a package for everyone in every kind of situation. Go ahead and click the link below. We'll hop on a one-on-one call. We'll see what the best fit for you is, and we will move forward for whatever makes the most sense for your business. All right, so that is my take. Now, my take might be a little bit more negative. Again, I'm not ruling out that this could be a massive change and a huge benefit for us. I'm very open-minded. I just want to be a little bit more cautious because all the other content out there that I've seen, you're right, they're kind of promising, sunshine and rainbows with incremental attribution. But I don't really like doing that. I like to be a little bit more cautious in these type of things because a lot of people have made a lot of mistakes where they spend too much money and they end up regretting it. So I don't want the same thing to happen to you. That being said, there are some important trends going on in the industry, and Meta explained this in their release of incremental attribution. So one of the reasons they're doing this is because studies have shown that Gen Z, they actually rarely directly click on ads. Now, that doesn't mean that they aren't influenced by ads. It just means that a much smaller percentage of them will be the type of person that sees an ad, clicks, purchases, and then that's it. Gen Z requires a lot more convincing, a lot more touch points in order to actually buy something from you. Now, why does that matter? It's because obviously Gen Z is the growing population, and then the older population, I'm sorry if you're in the older population, but that's going to start to trickle down after a while. And I see this reflected in our data. So when we are running sales campaigns, I do see that the vast majority of people who are buying directly from an ad, they're in the 40 plus category. Like, we rarely get purchases for all my clients for people in their 30s and certainly people in their 20s. Extremely rare. And that's because their behavior is just different, right? It's just a generational shift. And so because of that, the way advertising is done does need to shift. So while perhaps the baby boomers and Gen X, right, they have more disposable income, and so in the near term it's still better to get more purchases from them, right? That's going to change, right? And soon at some point, Gen Z, they're going to be the ones in their 30s and 40s, and if they're not clicking directly on ads, we need to figure out ways to be able to still use marketing for the benefits of our business. So because of that shift, it is important that there is a release like this. So that's another reason why I'm optimistic, and I think with over time, and this is going to get better, and I think overall it probably will improve campaigns, but again, it's just going to be more of a little bit of a slow shift as opposed to something that you can do right now that will explode your business. Now, again, I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, I will be the first one to admit it, and I'll be very happy to admit that I was wrong, because it means that this is something that you can do right now in your business that will see an immediate impact. But go ahead and test it. Be very diligent in the way you test it. Please do it the way I've outlined. Be very specific of when you launch it. Don't make any other changes anywhere else in your business. Not your emails, not your social media posts, not your website. Nothing. Give it a 14-day period. Look at your back-end data. See if there's any actual change in your overall sales data. Compare that to what Facebook is saying, and then from there you can make a decision whether or not this is something worth pursuing right now, or if you want to wait a little bit more into the future, and hopefully it's a little bit more improved at that point. So hopefully you found this video to be helpful and maybe a little bit more honest. Like I said, a lot of content out there. I think it's being way too hyperbolic about this, and I think that's dangerous because it gets people to spend money that maybe they shouldn't be spending. So if you have any questions about this topic, just go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.